Hello. We're doing the answers today for assignment and lesson 11. Now this assignment was just, if you look here, this chart, right? I have these slides up here just to kind of help when I'm talking, but this is what assignment 11 was. So what do you need to do? Well, you can first of all, what you can do is you can pause the video if you would like and just take a look at these answers. I'm going to talk through them a little bit just to kind of explain things one more time. Now, what I want you to know is that this chart is all you really need to know about asexual reproduction on a test. Yes, you'll learn more things later. Yes, the microviewer was good. But this chart, if you could name the types, if you can give an example of something in the real world that uses that type, draw a diagram and give a little simple explanation of what that type of asexual reproduction is, you're in very good shape. So don't worry too much. Now let's take a look. First of all, we've got binary fission. A unicellular organism uses mitosis to divide into two copies. So you can see there's an organism, it gets bigger, it splits up, now you've got two. Something that uses that is a bacteria. Cool. Let's go on to budding. Budding is when you make a little buddy, right? You got a little version of you, a little Mr. Sitnik grew off and broke off and then it grew up into a Mr. Sitnik. Well, that'd be something. Can't happen, but that's basically what budding is. Let's take a look here. A mini version of the parent grows, breaks off, and grows full. So for an example of a hydra or a yeast, there's a little hydra growing on the parent. It breaks off, finds some ground material or something that it can grow in, and then it'll grow to a full version. That's what budding is. If you know that, if you know what it is, you can draw it and you give an example, you're doing great. Don't panic. Next up, sporulation. Borulation. An organism makes reproductive spores by mitosis in a sac. The sac opens, they're released, they land, and they grow up. For example, spores growing in sacs by mitosis. Then the spore sacs open, they enter the atmosphere, they land. If they land on something good, they can grow up to become fully functioning organisms, and they'll grow spore sacs. Again, no partner or sexual reproduction needed. An example would be bread mold. Then we have vegetative propagation, what I like to call splicing normally. It kind of reminds me of budding because you take a little piece and it grows up, but it's with plants normally, right? So vegetative propagation, a new organism is created from the roots, stems, or leaves of a parent. For example, you got this nice flower that I drew, and you cut it. You take that cutting, you put it in the soil. Eventually, it'll grow into a full-on flower of its own. Strawberries, trees, herbs, peas. We're going to be talking about peas a lot in about 10 lessons or so when we start talking about genetics. So that's why I included that in there, because the person that did all the pea experiments did a lot of splicing and a lot of cross-pollinating. The last one is regeneration, the old starfish one. Regeneration, a multicellular organism is divided into fragments and each fragment regrows a whole. There's starfish, breaks off one of the pieces, and that piece will grow. An example, starfish. Now, if your definitions aren't exactly the same as mine, don't panic. It's not a big deal. The biggest thing is that you know the 5 types, you can explain them in your own words, you know an example, and you can do a little diagram with them. If you can do that, you're in great shape. This was just an assignment to get your head around the most important things about asexual reproduction. Now we're going to talk about meiosis in the next lessons, which means how sperm and egg cells are made, because every other cell is made using mitosis. But sperm and egg cells are made using meiosis, and this is one of the harder lessons coming up, so let's get to it.